Good morning, friends. Welcome to another session of webinar organized by Pune branch jointly with Kolhapur branch of ICAI. Today, we are going to discuss on the topic of professional ethics. We have eminent faculties for that. Past President of ICAI, C. Amarjit Chopra, sir. We also have C. Kemisha Soni, madam. She is Chairman of Ethical Standard Board for this year. We also have CA Dr. S.B. Zaware, sir. He is chair of Asian Oceanian Standard Setters Group, as well as past Central Council member. We also have very own CCM from Pune, CV Chitale, sir. I also have with me CA Anil Chikodi, sir. He is chairman of Kolhapur branch. We welcome all the members for this program. Before we start the session, I request Anil Chikodi sir to give opening remarks on behalf of Kolhapur branch.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Good morning, all my friends and colleagues. I welcome Amarjit Chopra sir, Zaware sir, Chitale sir, and Soni madam on this forum. Due to this COVID-19, we are facing so much trouble and working from home with such kind of situation. Institute has arranged number of webinars, even number of branches jointly arranging number of webinars which will be helpful for all the members who are locked down in their homes. Institute has come out with the new professional ethics and standards for which will be applicable from 1st July 2020, for which Amarjit Chopra sir and Zaware sir are here to fresh light on that. I request Abhishek sir to take the charge of the session. Thank you.
Mr. Anil Chopra there.
Okay.
Have you
Yes,
joined?
I now request Chitale sir to please give his opening remarks.
Namaskar. Good morning, Honorable Past President Sri Amarjit Chopra sir, Chair AOSSG SB Zaware sir, Chair for this Ethical Standards Board Kemisha Soni, Chairman for Pune branch, for Kolhapur branch, and all the audience. A question comes up in mind whether we need have ethics as a formal curriculum, as a codified ethics. Because if you look at the concept of dharma, in ancient Hinduism, we have concept of dharma. So what is meaning of dharma? It says that it is eternal and inherent reality of the nature, regarded in Hinduism as a cosmic law underlying the right behavior and social order. So dharma teaches us how to behave, and the morals of the dharma. We have Raja Dharma, where king is told how you have to behave. We have Vaishya Dharma, where a trader is told how you should behave. So the dharma is way of life that you have. If you are a man, human being, you have to follow human beings dharma. If you are professional, you have to follow your own dharma. And these ancient teachings also have taught us. I recollect an episode from Mahabharat. Duryodhan, the one of the Kauravas, before going for war, he went to his mother Gandhari and sought her blessings. What blessings were given by Gandhari? She did not say that I pray for your victory, yours will be the victory. She said, where there is dharma, victory will be there. She knew perfectly well that on the other side, in the other party was Yudhishthir, the son of Dharma. Dharma personified who would win the victory. So she could not give blessings to her son, yours will be the victory. She said, where there is Dharma, there will be the victory. So these are our teachings, that you have to follow Dharma, and even ahead of your son, you are giving more importance to the ethics. More recently, Honorable Guru Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji visited OECD, and he was asked to give talk on ethics and sustainability, where he has advised that there is that following of ethics is not an easy question to follow. Young people today want to make quick money without thinking about ethics. When sensibility and sensitivity converge, then the ethics become reality of the life. Sadly, the wrong notion that one must be unethical in order to progress in business is the mindset that the youngsters possess around the world. But when young people are shown how you can be prosperous following ethical means, it really opens their eyes. If you have done something that is unethical, it robs of your smile, of your sleep, and also takes away other comforts from you. In fact, if you look at it, it is very costly doing business unethically. Who would want his business to be when you have given little to spend a lot? It is not good economics. And therefore, we have always been told that you have to follow this ethics, the dharma. And if in chartered accountancy profession also, if we follow our dharma, there is no need of codification of ethics. But then, if you look at the yesteryears and these years, earlier, as a student, you were riding bicycle, and bicycle had no complexity. If you are not able to ride the bicycle immediately, you can get down and see what is the fault, whether the tire has punctured or whether the chain is not there. So the things were not very complex, and you could yourself locate the fault, and in most of the cases you could rectify the fault. In some of the cases, if you don't have tool, you have to go to the mechanic. But now we are riding cars, and in that case, if the car is not moving, then the person who rides the car is not able to even locate why it is not moving, because he lacks the technology. Complexity has increased, and when the complexity increases, you need more rules of the game, and one who knows those rules of the game has to address the issue. And gone are the days of car. Now there are also aeroplanes where we are going ahead with that, and this needs codification of all the processes. Take simple example of tax audit. As a professional, I definitely know what is my capacity, whether I can carry out 10 tax audits, whether I can carry out 30 tax audits, 60 tax audits. My capacity, my organization is known to me. And I know if I increase the number of tax audits beyond my capacity, the quality is going to suffer. But then, as we have seen, and Chopra ji also will vouch, that various disciplinary cases are there, that tax audit is not performed appropriately, numbers being exceeded. So when your own conscience does not limit your performance and your decision to limit the tax audits at your capacity, ultimately it needs to be codified. So the institute has made a law that, okay, you can perform not more than 60 tax audits. And there too, we find that people are not adhering to this particular limit. The intention of the limit is not that the chartered accountant should not get more work. It is the institute is conscious keeper of the profession. It has to address the quality aspects. So it knows to what extent quality can be delivered. Of course, there can be pluses or minuses, but when you make a rule, you have to be objective. So this objective limit has been prescribed. And when it is not adhered to, there are unfortunate consequences. So it is the greed of person that at times makes him exceed the limits of professionalism. And there comes the regulation, because unless you are regulated, the entire profession will suffer. From 1st of July 2020, we are going to have new code of ethics. As you know, the world over, there is a movement of following good ethical practices. And institute being part of international bodies, we have to match our steps along with the international developments. So wherever there is, whatever is the development in international arena, we have to incorporate those developments into our curriculum. So based on ISBA code, how it has been developed, we have been guided by that code, and we have adopted various concepts. We have indigenized them. And my colleague on council, Kemisha, is heading this ethical standards committee. And now the code of conduct or code of ethics is on the cards. They are conducting various programs for the enlightenment of professionals. I am sure with the dawn of 1st of July, every professional, every member of the institute would be aware that what is the ethics he is supposed to follow. And at institute level also, proactively the committee is organizing programs. So I compliment Kemisha for the purpose of organizing these programs, organizing material, and equipping the profession with all the things they should know about the ethics. With this, I thank viewers for joining this particular program and hand over to Abhishek.
Thank you so much, sir, for your opening remarks. May I now request CA Dr. S.B. Zaware, sir, past CCM as well as Chair of AOSSG, to please address us.
You are not unmute.
Sorry. No.
You are on mute.
Are you able to hear now?
Yes.
Right. See Amarjit Chopra ji, the illustrious past president of ICAI, under whom I have done my council member articleship for a period of 3 years and learned many code of ethics. CA Kemisha Soni, chairperson of Ethical Standards Board. CA Chandrasekhar Chitale, the Central Council member from Pune and chairman of the Corporate Laws and Corporate Governance Committee. Two illustrious chairman of Pune branch, C. Abhishek Dhamne and C. Anil Chikodi from Kolhapur, and all the professional colleagues. Good morning to all of you, and I congratulate the chairman and the team of both the branches to arrange this type of webinar, which is a must during quarantine days. Chopra ji, I remember of 2010, when I just joined as a Central Council member, and you nominated me for one of the conference of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, wherein you were to talk about the code of ethics, and for some reason or other, you could not join, you nominated me. And at that time, I have a number of questions in mind. Whether shall I talk about bribery, whether shall I talk about the frauds and all these things, whether shall I talk about India. And I consulted you, and you say, absolutely, frankly, whatever in your mind, you talk. That is the way. And there I understood, yes, this is a code of ethics. I must be absolutely bold that whatever I have to share, I should share from the bottom of my heart. And that's what I learned from you. Thank you, sir, for that. My dear professional colleagues, whenever we are talking about code of ethics, what do we talk about? We really talk about do's and don'ts. I'm allowed to do this. I'm not allowed to do this. Prevention is better than cure. And we have to take care that I don't enter into don'ts. It's a quality adherence. It is compliance of various laws and acts. It is my conduct, my behavior. How shall I do my practice? Whether I should do ethically or whether I should earn the money unethically. It's my commitment and dedication towards the profession. And if I do the professional negligence, naturally I have to suffer. I have to face the drama. I have to face the disciplinary committee. I have to face the society. And therefore, it is nothing but self-controlled guidance. My dear friends, there is a difference between the law and act. We talk about ethical standards issued by ICAI is a law, but I have to follow it. We are finding out in COVID-19, the scenario throughout the country, not throughout the country, even throughout the world, there is a law Those who don't follow the law, they have to suffer. In 1978, Chopra ji, my mentor, Dr. Manibhai Desai, who was a true disciple of Mahatma Gandhi, and he was the managing trustee of NGO. In 1978, before his feet, I put one of the code of ethics formula, and that is my perfect formula. The first P stands for professionalism, E stands for effectiveness, R stands for regularity, F stands for firmness. I should be firm about my views. E stands for evaluation, SWOT analysis. And I think it's a exact right time, both the chairman thought, to have the discussions of code of ethics, because we can have thinking SWOT analysis, my strength, my weakness, my opportunities and my threats. And C is my conduct, my behavior, my do's and don'ts, and T is time consciousness. So this is the self-controlled guidance I followed in my personal life, and I'm giving to my professional colleagues also since 1978. So the importance of code of ethics is very important. Why I should do it? My dear friends, what is ICAI? Our behavior, not my behavior. It's the behavior together. One does the mistake and everybody is blamed and the professional image is lost. Therefore, we have to be careful. We have to take care. So professional standard I have to maintain. My alma mater, ICAI professional image I have to maintain. Whatever the financial statements, maybe a general purpose financial statement or maybe a special purpose financial statement, I should adhere to the quality, because based on certification of those statements which are taken at par by the banks, by the financial institutions, by the investors, by the other stakeholders, and based on that they take decision. And in case if my certification is wrong, my dear friends, the entire blame doesn't come to an individual, but the blame comes to all the Chartered Accountants fraternity and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And therefore, we have to be very, very careful. Sir, in 2011, in Pune, I found there is a forgery of signature. Means Chartered Accountant profession was blamed because of the non-Chartered Accountants certifying the financial statements, certifying the certificates, special purpose financial statements in one of the bank, and lakhs of rupees loan was released. In order to prevent this, I brought before the council, you are aware about it, when Ramaswamy was the president, UDIN, I'm talking about the UDIN, Unique Document Identification Number. I have a pride and pleasure to be an inventor and to be an author of the UDIN. And today I'm so proud that more than 10 million UDIN numbers have already been generated through the platform of ICAI. Why this UDIN? In order to save the skin of Chartered Accountants. That's very important. Chandrasekhar Chitale right now talked about the number of 30 tax audits or number of 60 tax audits. And all this can be controlled through UDIN. So my dear professional colleagues, today's webinar is very important. The speaker has vast experience and he himself follow. I say that you are a perfect professional. You know the code of ethics. And therefore today's speakers, Kemisha, who is the chairperson of the Ethical Standards Board, and Amarjit Chopra, they will take over the technical session, because I thought in general, I will have a few words I will share with you. But this is very, very important. And I'm very glad that under the chairmanship of Kemisha Soni from 1st July 2020, the new code of ethics are coming in. And it is my duty as a soldier that I have to follow it in order to save my profession and in order to take the high image of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Thank you, Abhishek and Anil, for giving me an opportunity to share my few thoughts in the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. And only one aspect that you mentioned about, since you mentioned Manibhai Desai, he received Mega Sese Award, and it was also a check was received of certain amount. And when Zaware sir went to deposit that check, he said that I don't have any bank account. And the reason is, he said that I have pledged before Mahatma Gandhi ji that I will not have my personal assets. And he did not open any bank account. So Zaware sir had to meet chairman of Bank of Baroda, allowing him to deposit in that foundation's account. So that is the live example of how people who are of high esteem follow ethics. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandrasekhar Chitale. Actually, that story I will write down in my Facebook so that everybody will be able to share and do it accordingly. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Now I request Kemisha Soni, madam, please, as a chairman of Ethical Standard Boards, please address us.
Thank you, Abhishek ji. Namaskar and very good morning to our Honorable Past President, Amarjit Chopra sir. He is also a member of our disciplinary committee. And as Zaware sir mentioned about the articleship of Central Council under Honorable Past President, so I would also say that, sir, I was also Central India Regional Council chairperson. That time he was President ICAI. So for me, he is always President because I learned so many things from him. And CA and Dr. S.B. Zaware sir, I would say guru, teacher of our accounting profession, and also chair Asian Oceanic Standard Setter Group. And my council colleague, very active and dynamic chairman, corporate law and corporate governance committee, Chitale sir, and he is also member of disciplinary committee, I think bench 3. And chairman Pune branch Abhishek ji, and chairman Kolhapur branch Anil ji, and all viewers of Kolhapur and Pune branch. So first I would like to mention about something about that ethical standard board. To formulate ethical standards for the profession of accountancy, the ethical standard board of ICAI was constituted in 1976. Its contemporary International Ethics Standards Boards of Accountants, that is called ISBA, was constituted in 1977 after 1 year of constitution of our Ethical Standard Board. First edition of Code of Ethics, then called Code of Conduct, was issued in 1963. I would also like to mention here that then president name that time, C.A.R.C. Cooper sir, was president that time, and it came to known as a Code of Ethics for the first time in its 9th edition in 2001. And ICAI Code of Ethics was converged with ISBA Code of Ethics for the first time in year 2009. So what we have present Code of Ethics, that is called Code of Ethics 2009. And about the 2009 code had 2 parts, A and B. A representing the provisions converged with ISBA Code of Ethics. It means we are not adopting as it is ISBA Code of Ethics. We are converging our Code of Ethics. And part B representing the domestic provisions governing the chartered accountants in India. And part A, presently we can say that volume 1 was issued as a guideline of the Council of ICAI. It means following the Council guideline is mandatory for all chartered accountants. And first, now I would like to update about the applications of this code. So as I have mentioned, this code is applicable from 1st July 20, where guidance contained in this code relates to engagements commencing prior to that date. Guidance contained in 2009 edition of the code may be applied up to completion of the said engagements, and transitional arrangements are also available in respect of specific sections of the code. So some of new requirements related to volume 1, 2 and 3, I would like to mention that part, that certain additional terms such as public interest entity in the context of application of certain independence provision, employment with an audit client, long association of personnel, non-assurance services to audit client, key audit partner in the context of partner rotation, relative as defined under Companies Act 13 are reckoned if the client is a company, while immediate family and close family are reckoned in case of other clients. Here I would like to mention about Chitale sir that he is chairman of corporate law committee. So many provisions related to Companies Act 13 supersede our code of ethics. In case of any domestic act and regulations, that provisions will prevail, and in other cases our code of ethics provision will applicable. So these are new terms introduced in our volume 1. And regarding other related to volume 1, I would like to mention that non-compliance with law and regulations, also a more robust framework for addressing a breach of requirement of the code. A professional accountant, we can say that chartered accountant who identifies a breach of any other provision of the code shall evaluate the significance of the breach and its impact on the accountant's ability to comply with the fundamental principles. The chartered accountant shall also first take whatever actions might be available as soon as possible to address the consequences of the breach satisfactorily, and second, determine whether to report the breach to the relevant parties. Other changes are section dealing with management responsibility. The code contains the description of activity that would and would not be generally regarded as management responsibility and provides enhanced guidance. In Indian context, we can say management consultancy services. Here, one query from our Zaware sir has sent me morning that I think related to please consider my regarding whether auditor of a company doing case representation of the same company before the income tax and GST authorities would be management function under Companies Act. Very good, sir. Your query is very good and excellent. You have also mentioned there is no guidance on this either from MC or ICAI. So, sir, in case of representation before taxation authorities for audit client, so where amount is involved are material to the financial statement on which firm will provide opinion, firm shall not provide such services. So depend on materiality concepts is also very important in this segment, because later on depend on threats where amount are not material. The firm shall evaluate and address advocacy and self-review threats and then proceeds. So this is broadly the position in existing and revised code. So provision relating to threats are they are created by certain tax services. Also, we can say that non-assurance services to the audit client. Specifically, in case of public interest entity PI, they are specifically prohibited, and provisions also very stringent in that case. And we have also incorporated in our volume 1 glossary which contains defined terms together with additional explanation where appropriate. If you have any issue related to certain definition, certain abbreviation, so we have incorporated. For example, part 4A, the term audit engagement applies equally to both audit and review engagements. The glossary also includes list of abbreviations that are used in the code and other standards to which the code refers. So these are about some changes which are related to Part A and present revised Code of Ethics 2019, that volume 1. So Chopra sir also covered that specifically part NOCLAR, non-assurance services, and provisions related to fees. Related to fees is very important changes that where the total annual professional fees from the client and its related entities exceed 15%. It means not only a single client, but even group of companies also will consider same management under same group of company. If exceed 15% of the total fees of the firm for 2 consecutive years, so then in that case also this provision will apply as an independence and conflict of interest. Chopra sir will definitely cover in the form of example also related this provision. Now I would also like to update about the volume 2. that is our related to our domestic provisions, that most critical changes in volume 2 related to change due to Companies Act 13, revised auditing and accounting standards, changes in council guideline, etc. And so many changes related to advertisement guidelines, including permission of advertisement on social media, etc. New modes, relaxation in modes of communication with previous auditor. Also, some certain changes are there, and new permission on visiting cards, sponsorship guideline, uploading educational video, name of firm on movie on or TV credits, etc. We have also incorporated, and we have given straightforward so many provision, and we have also given clarity also certain where silent in previous 2009 code was silent in that particular situations, and also so many changes related to volume 1, which also will impact on our part 2, we can say that volume 2. And about volume 3 is the first code with case laws segregated in separate volume, like subtitle of each cases from 2009 to up to 2019 updated, and we have deleted so many repetitive cases and one point of time, and redundant cases also deleted, and comprehensive index and case laws as also mentioned in our volume 3, and finally e-code to be issued soon. So this is about all updation related to volume 1, 2, 3, which will applicable from 1st July. And finally, one thing also I would like to mention about that conceptual framework approach you will have to follow for every assignment where you are signing or attesting or reviewing or auditing function. In that case, all related part is mentioned in our part 1, which will applicable to all chartered accountant, whether they are in service or whether they are in practice. So I would like to mention about that conceptual framework approach, that as you all are aware, integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality and professional behavior are the 5 fundamental principles. Conceptual framework is the dynamic system which prescribes various safeguards for different kinds of threats to this fundamental principle. In the day-to-day professional dilemmas of chartered accountants, there are various circumstances that give rise to specific threats to compliance with the fundamental principles. A conceptual framework requires a chartered accountant to identify, evaluate, and address threats to compliance with the fundamental principles. The framework assists chartered accountant to identify, then evaluate and respond to threat to compliance with the fundamental principle. If identified threats are other than clearly insignificant, the chartered accountant should, where appropriate, apply safeguards to eliminate the threats or reduce them to an acceptable level, such that compliance with the fundamental principle is not compromised. Members are encouraged to comply with this and keep a documented account of the said process for each and every assignment. So this is also the part of your this is also will the part of your documentation. Here I would like to take one example. We can take one example of fees. Let's say there is a firm with a total receipts of 10 lakh. It has an audit client from whom it charges a fees of 1,50,000, which will account for 15% of total receipts, which the firm will need to disclose in the first year. However, in the next year, if the percentage does not reduce the particular limit, the firm will have to decline the engagement, because might create a self-increase their client. As a safeguard, the proportionate share of the old client will reduce below 15%, thus not having a problem of declining the engagement. In short, we can say that when the total fees generated from an audit client by the firm expressing the audit opinion represent a large proportion of the total fees of that firm, the dependence on that client and concern about losing the client create a self-interest and intimidation threats. So in that manner, we in our code, revised code of ethics, we have given so many examples related to that particular segment sections. For example, we have already mentioned related to non-assurance services to the audit client, no clerk provisions, also so many we have given example. So now over to our speaker, Amarjit Chopra sir, or I would hand over to Abhishek ji regarding further proceedings.
Yes. Thank you,
Abhishek,
madam,
only
for
1
your.
minute. Abhishek, 1 minute. See, thank you, Kemisha. When you rightly responded to the query raised by Zaware sir. Only as far as this code of ethics is concerned, definitely we are addressing these threats of intimidation relating to self-review, independence, etc. But then in case of Companies Act, Section 145 specifically prohibits certain services by chartered accountants, and a list is given. In that list, tax representation service is not expressly mentioned, but then there is mention of management services. Now, there is no clarity as of today what is included in management services and what is excluded from management services. Therefore, opinion was sought by the MCA from institute, and in turn CLCGC prepared that opinion, and in which, considering that in tier 2, tier 3 cities, there are small companies and they are not able to engage so many consultants, and traditionally the chartered accountants are also involved in tax representation. So I'm distinguishing giving opinion on tax and tax representation. So on a limited aspect of tax representation, whether it is income tax or it is indirect tax, view has been given by the institute that these representation services should not be construed as management services, and there is no threat of self-review because the facts are already audited, the law is known, so you are unfolding the facts and law before the officers. So this view is taken by the institute and it is sent to the MCA. MCA is yet to take view on it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for updating me. But here, for any services, what we are providing to our audit client, so we'll have to work out on it. That is there any threats for our
Yes.
audit service? So
In that
otherwise,
subjective test also needs to be applied.
yes, yes.
Shekhar, this was the query raised by CA Prakash Apte and forwarded to the Ethical Standards Board, just for information.
Sir, just I would like to also convey one most important thing is that in International Ethics Standard Board, they have mentioned everywhere concept of materiality. For example, in-depthness. So they have mentioned that in case of materiality, we'll consider in-depthness also. But here we have fixed monitoring limit. For example, 10,000 in old Code of Ethics and 1 lakh from 1st July will applicable. That limit is 1 lakh rupees. So concept of materiality in except other circumstances will work for each and every situation. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Kemisha ma'am, for your elaborate presentation on the topic of on the initiatives taken by Ethical Standard Board. Madam, if I may request, if you can share any PPT if you have that we will be circulating to our members. Uh, it will be with them and they can study during this lockdown also.
I'm
Kemisha,
mailing you.
unmute and talk.
Sir. Sir, I'm mailing you standardized
All
PPT.
right.
I will. Yeah. So you can circulate
Okay.
that.
Okay. Thank you. So now we will. I request now Amarjit Chopra sir to take charge of the session. We are really eager to listen to you, sir, on this topic of professional ethics. For the knowledge of all the members, Amarjit Chopra sir is past president of ICAI. He is currently on a disciplinary board of ICAI disciplinary committee member. He is making and he's a DC bench member there. So it would be wonderful to understand from you, sir, that in line with the technical provisions of professional ethics, uh, how a chartered accountant or what precaution chartered accountant firm should take. So we are really eagerly waiting for your session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Abhishek. I think I am audible.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you, Abhishek. Chairman of the Pune branch, Mr. Anil Chitale, the chairman of KOLHAPUR branch. I can say my elder brother in the council, CA Dr.
I think you are not audible, sir.
Sir, now your mic is on mute. Mic is on mute.
No, my mic is not on mute.
Sir, if you can come little closer to your device, we can hear you properly.
Okay. I said, C. Abhishek Demane, the chairman of the Pune branch, C. Anil Chokli, the chairman of Kolhapur branch, C. Dr. S.B. Zaware, I consider to be my elder brother when he was in the council. I think we have had probably one of the best times, if you really ask me. A man who is extremely competent, very good in communicating various things, and presently the chair of Asia-Oceanic Standard Setters. For that matter, I think, sir, you got what was due to you for a very long time. CA Kemisha Soni, the chairperson of Ethical Standards Board of the ICAI, and CA Chandrasekhar Chitale. I can only say that we have been together in the disciplinary committee last year. This year, of course, we are in the different benches. And of course, the participants. It's a great delight to be with you all this, now I can say afternoon. Of course, we started in the morning. So, I think the Ethical Standard Board has done an extremely nice job by bringing in this the new revised code of ethics. If you really ask me, sometimes one wonders what is the meaning of the ethical conduct, basically. It is a question which is being raised time and again. What is the meaning of the ethical conduct? To me, ethical conduct is what I expect, the way I expect the others to behave, basically. As an individual, if I expect certain conduct by the others, to me that has to be my conduct first, basically, and that will determine what is the ethical conduct. When you lay down certain principles for human behavior, that is the ethical conduct, and ethical conduct is not something which can be codified. There's no way that you can codify the ethical conduct. Unfortunately, we had to codify this, if you ask me. We have come out with the various schedules in which we have laid down how a member is supposed to behave, even for the purpose of advertisement, and even for the purpose of communicating, for that matter. The kind of visiting cards that we may have or we may not have, whether it leads to advertisement, it doesn't lead to advertisement. All these things we have tried to put it in the law, basically. To me, actually, this is a matter of human conduct. And human conduct is something which is far more important than any other conduct. To me, there is no way that you can actually codify an ethical conduct. Otherwise, there is no difference between the law and ethics. Law is something which is laid down by the government as a law of the land, and ethics is something which has to be imbibed in. And I can tell you, it comes from the family also to a very, very large extent. So I have seen, at least in India, I have one example that I always give, that it is only in India possible probably that it is legal that a person can contest elections while sitting in the jail, in the prison, and can still win the election and can be the MLA or MP of the country. And at times, he can be given parole to go to the Lok Sabha to vote, to exercise his right. I think this may be legal, but this is absolutely unethical if you really ask me. This is not desirable at all under any circumstances. We are the only country where every political party keeps on giving tickets to the people who are charged with murders. Now, this is something which the parties may say, they may try to take the shelter of being legal, but can it be considered to be ethical? I think that's a major question before us. I think similarly, there are cases where chartered accountants behave in a particular manner, saying that this is legal. But whether that conduct is ethical, I think to me that is the basic question to be answered. I may do something which may be absolutely legal. I keep on advising the clients on certain matters, saying that it is legal, but certain practices which the clients will borrow from those um, uh, the advice or the opinion will be absolutely unethical if you really ask me. So I personally feel we have to start looking at it absolutely from a different angle, not the legal angle. To me, what we have to look at is the ethical angle, and unless and that is why it is called code of ethics. It is not said the code of, it is nothing like a law. I so let's move on in the life, start behaving in a manner the way we expect the others to behave with us. I think that's very important. If I get a balance sheet in which the things might have been done in a particular manner, the things might have been disclosed, and I take the shelter of that particular disclosure, but I think that disclosure is all pervasive and could have resulted into something else. I definitely need to go back and think and really apply my mind whether I need to undertake those kind of assignments or not. There are certain kind of assignments that we keep on doing, and we say that this is all legal, but I think taking up those assignments may be absolutely unethical. So I'm not saying what the lawyers do. I'm not getting into that. I'm only talking of code of ethics so far as the chartered accountants are concerned. Lawyers are there to defend the murderers also. That's their job. But we are not here to sign the balance sheets of the people who try to divert the money having taken from the banks or any other sources. I think that's what is very important so far as we are concerned.
So
Other thing also,
sorry to disturb you, sir. Sir, your voice is little low. We are getting calls from members that it is a little low. So
I'll further try, but I personally feel that I'm on a full scale.
okay. So
Beyond this may be
it's just you
difficult.
can take the device little closer.
No, I've taken it. I don't think I can take it closer than that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I don't think I may be able to take it closer than this, basically. I think
Okay.
membership at large. Now, am I audible now? Am I
Much
audible?
better, sir. Much better.
Okay, I
Yes.
will try it further then. Member, we expect from the membership at large that there should be lesser number of the disciplinary cases coming to us. Very frankly, every year we are adding about 600 to 800 cases, which is pretty large number, keeping in view the institute. And the way we can go ahead, go about doing those cases, deciding about those cases, and that is why in some cases dependencies also arise. But we will definitely expect the membership to behave in a different way, which is expected of them to in the periods to come. This is the 12th edition of the Code of Ethics so far as the institute is concerned, and this is based upon again the International Ethical Standard Board's pronouncements. There are certain additions to the existing code, and there are certain modifications to the existing code. There are certain deletions also, very frankly, which we have done. It is the first time that we are coming out with the 3 volumes, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. In volume 1, what is contained is basically the CA Act, whatever is pertaining to the CA Act or to the Companies Act. In the second volume, whatever are the pronouncements of the institute with regard to the regulatory measures. And in the third volume are all cases, basically. These are all cases. On certain points where the code of ethics have been decided in a particular manner, I may like to differ, and I will. To me, those are extremely controversial issues, and the way the institute has gone about it may not be really leading to the ethical practices. One of those is, and which I am bringing out right now, for the first time, I think we are going to permit the elected members who have attained the high positions in the institute, say the position of the president, or if I attain the position of the ASB chairman, this particular code of ethics permits me now, which was not permitted earlier, to get on my individual visiting card printed what was my position. Why it should be? I think when it comes to writing a CV, in the CV you can write everything. You are writing that you are the past president, you are writing that you are the ex-council member. You are writing that you are the ASB chairman. In the CVs, you are writing everything. Why do you need to write it on the visiting cards of the people? Effective 1st of July 2020, what was not allowed to be done to all these people. I think why should I, as a past president, believe me, I can tell you, I have been on the board of 2 of the banks. Even during when I was on the board of both the banks, I never got the visiting card printed saying that I am the director of those banks. Never ever I've got the card printed saying that I'm an ex-director in those banks. And people keep on traveling with those kind of cards. What is the need? I don't think I'm a chartered accountant. That's the only qualification I've got. And if I'm a chartered accountant, I'm an ethical chartered accountant, I think that should be the end of the day. Why I am supposed to write what is being proposed now is, if I belong to a political party, I cannot write it on my card. If I am the chairman of a cell, CSL of a political party, I cannot write on my visiting card. But I can definitely write that I am the ex-president of the institute, I am the ex-chairman of the regional council, I am the ex-chairman of a particular branch, I am the ex-convener of a particular study circle. Why it should be allowed? I don't know. I am raising this point to Kemisha, Soni particularly. Please take it up. This is going to be taken pretty badly. I can tell you, that is where the people raise the issue, that the people who are in power, those who are elected representatives, decide while being in council something which is beneficial to them. Why should I try to derive advantage of my positions in the institute for that matter? I don't think I have gone there. Whenever I contest an election and whenever I go to seek a vote, I say I'm willing to serve the profession. If I have served the profession, I don't think that I have to write on my visiting card. I don't think Mr. Anna Hazare will be writing on his visiting card that he's a social worker. Anna Hazare is Anna Hazare for that particular matter. So my humble request to Kemisha Soni is, please try to take it up. This is not going to be looked at very positively by the membership at large. This is going to be taken negatively. And that is why some of the WhatsApp groups start criticizing the various members in the council. I think we have to be very clear. We can't do something which is advantageous to us sitting over in the council. And if I as a past president, if you ask me, would welcome this. After all, I can write it on my visiting card. But I'm criticizing this particular move of the institute. Why should it be allowed at all? Because the moment you allow it, this is what the various groups in the in the WhatsApp which move around say, that the council members decide something which is definitely beneficial to them. And here I am trying to take benefit of my position in the past, writing on the visiting card and then going around. I will only like to say very humbly कि भाई मैं लिख सकता हूँ अपने CV में, तो सब कुछ लिखता ही हूँ ना. Nobody denies me that particular right to write on my CV. But in the visiting card, I think it is asking for a little bit too much. And then one thing that you have deleted from the code, I think it is in the volume 2, if I am not mistaken. I am trying to take up some of the issues which I feel are controversial. Where a person was retiring from a firm, you were writing to all the partners of the firm to confirm whether he has actually retired from the firm or not. And then if the other partners were objecting, probably this kind of a dispute, if it remained unsettled, we were writing to Reserve Bank of India, we were writing to C&AG that this particular matter is under dispute, the constitution of the firm is under dispute. Why should I delete this? I don't find the need for deleting this kind of a provision at all. This provision must continue. Either
Sir,
we...
sir, this provision under our member and student section services shifted to that part, sir. Related to member services, na, so we have shifted to regulatory requirement under our ICAI member sections.
Then it's fine. So
yes,
what I'm expecting is because this code does not say that it is being shifted there. After all, this must be explained in your
We have already mentioned deleted.
You are saying deleted. Because if it is deleted, either I provide a mechanism to resolve those issues, or this must continue. That's the point I'm trying to raise. I am grateful to raise
Very well taken.
this
Thank you.
particular issue.
Thank you, sir.
You see, the major substantive changes which have taken place. One is, I think Kemisha talked about it, where we talk of NOCLA, which talks of non-compliance with various laws and regulations of the land. Now, when I'm talking about this as an auditor, if I'm supposed to do it, and believe me, the most important part is, I think again, people are taking it differently, because this is equally applicable to a member in practice or in practice as well as a member in service. To me, the best thing that has happened is that it has been made applicable to the people in service also. Because the controversial issues some of the members are writing, and I received some of the queries basically from some of the senior members and one of the ex-council members also, that this will put our members to a disadvantageous position because we are competing with MBAs, we are competing with the other people when we are in the employment. And if our code of conduct is going to say that our members will have to comply with NOCLA, and if there is non-compliance in that particular case, he should be reporting somewhere else. In that particular case, people will refuse to employ our people. I personally feel through the government, I think through the MCA, whatever has not happened so far, we should try to take up and get it done now, because none other profession has this kind of a provision in the code of ethics. MBAs don't have any code of conduct in any case for that matter. And if I look at the company secretaries also, they are not going to have this kind of a clause. ICAI is not going to have this kind of a clause. If they are not going to have this clause, we can go to the MCA. This is my humble submission to Chitale Saab now, since he's heading that particular committee of Dr. Devashish Mitra or Kemisha for that matter. I'm requesting you to take up this particular matter. I, at my individual level, whatever I can do, I shall definitely try to do. We shall take it up with the MCA that we are the only institute which has laid down this clause, that if at all there is a non-compliance with the various laws and regulations of the land, it is to be reported to the concerned authorities. And if we are doing it, if our member is supposed to do it, I'm at an advantageous position. I'm not at a disadvantageous position. So my member should be given the role of the CFO. We should demand the role of the CFO for chartered accountants in the various companies based upon this particular clause. And I can tell you, this can be very, very advantageous position so far as we are concerned, if we are going to have this particular provision in the code of conduct. If someone says that we are going to be at a disadvantage, I beg to differ with that. Maybe that in the short run one can be at a disadvantage, but in the long run, if we can go back to the government and convince them that since our code of conduct puts an obligation on our members in service to report certain non-compliances to the various authorities, so we should be given the role of the CFO. I think the government will be forced to think over this particular matter. So my humble submission is, please start representing on this particular matter. When I talk of NOCLA, what is the meaning of the NOCLA? NOCLA is that if there are non-compliances with regard to various laws and regulations of the land, and these are material to the carrying on of the business. That's very important. You see, so far as SA 250 is concerned, already that casts an obligation on any auditor. Let's not talk of the member in service for the present moment, because SAs are applicable only to the members in profession, the members in practice. Now, SA 250 itself casts a responsibility, casts an obligation on the members in profession, that in all audit assignments where I find that there are non-compliances of the laws and regulation of the land, which have a financial impact, substantial financial impact, which can affect my true and fair view. In that case, my main report is to be qualified as on those grounds. I'll give you one example. I'll give you two examples. One is, if my calculation for the bonus, my allocable surplus says that there should be 20% bonus to be declared, and I'm declaring 8.33%. As an auditor, I'm under an obligation to qualify the report, because the provision for balance 11.67% needs to be created in any case. There is no way that I can get away from that particular situation. And secondly, if I am auditing an organization which needs to be registered with the Provident Fund authorities, and it has not registered itself with the Provident Fund authorities, and we all know that if it gets registered with the Provident Fund authorities, there is a major cost which comes to the employer. Now, if I don't get myself registered with the Provident Fund authorities, I personally feel in the SA 250, an obligation is cast on me to report on that, because it has a financial obligation on me later on. Suppose after 5 years it is detected that I didn't get myself registered under Provident Fund, and then all the liability befalls upon me, what I am going to do? Then it becomes a prior period item, because I was supposed to get myself registered in a particular year. So my humble submission is SA 250 in any case casts a responsibility on me with regard to all those laws which have a bearing upon the financial statements, material bearing on the financial statements. And if at all I come across any of such situations, in that particular case, I'm supposed to qualify the report if there is a non-compliance of the laws which results into the financial obligations. But so far as this code of ethics part is concerned, volume 1 is concerned, it casts an obligation on me with regard to certain other laws also, which may or may not result into financial, but which really gets into the basic, fundamental, rather fundamentally into the carrying on of the business. An example can be given with regard thereto, that there can be situations where the sanction plan for the real estate owner says that you can build only 20 of the floors. But you build 22 floors or 23 floors, which endangers the entire building itself. And you are in knowledge thereof. In that particular case, you are supposed to not only report in your report, you are even being asked to report it to the regulator, basically the concerned regulator. I think that's the major challenge. Suppose I am in service and I know that this is happening. Why I should not be reporting? I know that there is a fundamental risk of the building being demolished at a later point of time. I think there is every reason. If today I am not reading RERA and I am conducting an audit without reading RERA, I think I am running the risk as an auditor. So probably, I think in the code of conduct itself very clearly says, if at all the company has received show cause notice, I am an exporter, and the show cause notice has been received from the Reserve Bank of India with regard to some of the matters which are resulting into money laundering or something else, then I'm supposed to get into that and report it to the my findings to the regulators. I can't get away from it. I think this is a major challenge. The code of conduct itself, the code of ethics itself very clearly recognizes this fact that this is going to be a major challenge for the auditors and the members in service, but still prescribes it. And the council has prescribed it, and this is applicable to begin with only with regard to the public interest entities. This is only in respect of the public interest entities. All listed entities will be covered by it. Let's be clear on that. And if at all, the institute says that certain other entities to which certain accounting standards like apply, suppose there is if I'm probably, to me today, if there is an entity to which Ind AS applies, it may not be listed. To me, yes, it is a public interest entity for that matter. I think the institute will have to decide on those cases. But to me, wherever certain standards applicability have been made on certain criteria, I think all those entities will become the public interest entities. Even if a company is having a borrowing of 500 crores and it may not be listed, can I say that it is not a public interest entity? I think the institute will have to debate over it. What is a public interest entity? What is PIE? And then take a decision accordingly. So far as international standards, ethical standard board is concerned, they have only said that wherever certain standards, the local standards are applicable to certain specified entities, in that case, these become public interest entities. The institute will have to take the decision in this particular matter, and I leave it to the institute. But what I'm trying to say, and I can ask Kemisha, Kemisha is here now. Kemisha, how are you defining public interest entities? Only listed entities or something else also you are including therein? You can unmute yourself. Kemisha. Kemisha, I'm trying to find out what public interest entities you are going to cover in Nokla.
Yes, sir.
Is it only the listed entities or even entities on which the Indias are going to be made applicable? Because if you read ISBA, they say if the local institute has made applicable some of the accounting standards specifically for some entities, in that particular case also, this may become a public interest entity. Are we going to do it, or we are only saying that these are listed entities? Or I can
Sir, yes, sir, just because of some problem in Wi-Fi, about you are asking about, sir, public interest entity, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, and regarding we have also enhanced the independence requirement related to that PI client now. So definition of PI client we have defined in our code of ethics, that is first is listed entity or an entity defined by regulation or legislation as a public interest entity. Specifically, if any regulation or act defined any corporates as a public interest entity in that case, and one for which the yeah.
In any case, you are including all banks and insurance companies as public interest entities. That's
Yes,
clear.
yes, sir.
That
Yes.
Without saying.
Yeah.
But to me,
an audit is.
what I'm suggesting, you can
Yes,
have a
sir.
debate in the council
Huh.
when Indias are applicable for net worth above 250 crores now.
Right.
And all companies are not listed entities. Let me be very clear. These are applicable also in respect of the unlisted entities, wherever the net worth is exceeding 250. Now, if the institute feels that the India has to be made applicable to these entities, why these should not be treated as public interest entities? That's my question.
Okay, in case of non-listed entities also you are talking about.
Yeah.
Because of India's implementation. So we should consider that as a public interest entity. Because of that provision, we can correlate with that provisions. If we are as per India's implementation, definitely, sir, we will consider. Yes, sir. Yes, definitely, because here we have taken as it is listed entity what mentioned in our international ASBA code of ethics, not depend on IFRS or India's applicability. We will definitely look into this way also. Yeah.
Let's be very clear on one thing, Kemisha. And I want a debate on this, very frankly. Any questions can come in or anyone can interject. I don't mind. You see, there are companies which are listed for a very limited purpose where the debentures of the companies are listed. There may not be an issue of the equity, but the debentures are listed. The borrowings are listed on the. So to them also the listing requirements are getting applicable. There are entities like I have already brought to your notice with regard to India's, and 250 crore net worth is a good net worth if you really ask me. It's not a small net worth under any, because net worth means something. And why not to start considering that if a company has borrowed more than 500 crores or so, it should be considered to be a public interest entity, irrespective of the fact whether it is a listed entity or not. Because in this country, 500 crore rupees being borrowed from there are private limited companies, believe me today, whose turnover may be 5,000 crore or 10,000 crore rupees. I'm not naming them right now. I'm not naming them, but their net worth may not be that much. But why I'm saying so is because can you treat Air India as a non-public interest entity? It's not listed and it is making losses. It is not even having the net worth for that matter. So
but government already covered, sir. Yeah, government segment companies are, sir, in further definition.
You no,
Because of that,
have you said all
one
PSUs?
one minute.
Have you said all PSUs
PSUs.
will be covered?
Yes, sir. In the second part, for which the audit is required by regulation or legislation to be conducted in compliance with the same independence requirement that apply to the audit of listed entities, such regulation might be promulgated by any relevant regulator, including an
Does not
auditor.
say. It does
Ha.
not cover PSUs. Where does it cover
Hmm.
PSU? It does not
Hmm.
cover PSU. To my mind, it does not cover PSU. You may anyway apply your
Yeah, yeah,
mind to this.
yeah.
I'm only trying to raise some issues today. I'm also
No,
trying
you
to raise
are
issues
rightly,
of
sir. You are one point. You are rightly point out that in case of unlisted companies, if 250 more than 250 crore, so indirect maybe from loan from banks and other so stakeholder also involved in a indirect manner in that particular corporates also.
yes.
So we should consider
So,
that facts.
you
Yes,
please
sir.
consider and you can take it to the council for the deliberation. I think I leave it to you. Now, Nockler, I'm moving a little bit further also. There could be some cases against the company with regard to environmental laws. Now, if you have received the notice from the environmental ministry that your company might be closed down, now this is something that I have to really bring out. I have to really look at, even from the going concern point of view, forget the other point of view. So I cannot ignore those cases under any circumstances. So similarly, there could be FEMA cases, there could be money laundering cases, if at all you have received notice and if it is in your knowledge that it is happening. Suppose your company has been charged with bribing, basically, like in US, people file certain, you can say they have to do some filings with the SEC if at all they have bribed in any of the nations. And believe me, some of these subsidiaries of the US companies in India filed for giving briberies in SEC. So if at all you are in knowledge of that, probably you will have to report it to the regulators, report it to the government. So this is what one is trying to say, that if at all uh, there are cases of prevention of money laundering, there could be cases of briberies, there could be cases of environmental, which is fundamental to the carrying out of the business. There could be cases against the real estate owners with regard to dispute of land itself, basically, or there could be cases of building far more than what was actually sanctioned to be built up. All these are the examples which I am trying to take for the purpose of Nockler, which where the auditor will have to be extremely careful in those cases. Moving on, I think the point which was raised by Zaware Saab, I'm moving on to that, because this time, for the first time, the ISBA has brought in the concept of independence, and there are standards on independence now. I think that's very important. Now, I think this will have to be taken care of by the peer reviewers also, and that this is one request that I can make to Kemisha and Chitale Saab. When you ask your peer reviewers now, the peer review board must take into consideration that wherever the peer reviewer is going, he has to make sure that he has a comment on the independence of the auditor, basically. Wherever they have undertaken some of these assignments, which are the assurance engagements, he must look at it whether the independence standards were met or were not met. What can be the threats to the independence? One threat is very simple to the independence, that someone is my relative. I think Chitale Saab is aware of a case where the wife of the auditor was the MD of the company. I think Chitale Saab is also smiling. And the person was saying, I didn't know it, very frankly. Now we have held him guilty, that's a different matter, but that's a factual position to be in. That the wife of the auditor was the MD of the company, maybe for whatever period. I don't want to get into that particular part. But definitely she was, and she was holding more than 33%, and then they later on said, no, these were non-voting shares. Whereas in the filing with the MCA, there was nothing like non-voting shares in those cases. So what one is trying to tell you is, independence can be actually threatened by, if you have a relative there where you are carrying out the audit function, or review function or any other assurance function. It can also be threatened if you are indebted to a particular company. It can be threatened if they have stood guarantor for you, basically, in some of the companies. It can be threatened if you are investor in a particular company, for that matter. So there can be various reasons by way of which the independence can be threatened. It can be threatened, which was brought out by Kemisha also, and the regulation has also come in, if you are over dependent upon that particular client. Kemisha is not here, but I will like to say one thing very clearly. To me, this entire provision of 15% has no meaning. Whatever has been done, Kemisha, with regard to this 15%, and what do you say when the person has income of more than 15% from a particular group? I will say a client and its related entities. What you are going to ask him? You are only asking him that if it happens for 2 years consecutively, please go and report to the people who are charged with the governance. You're not asking him to do away with the assignment. And the people who are charged with the governance have already appointed him. I don't think that their independence is not threatened. They rather want a person who is dependent upon them as an auditor. There could be very, very few companies in India where they will say, no, you should not be dependent upon me. Rather, most of the company managements will say it is very good that he is dependent upon us and let him continue. You are only asking him to disclose it to the management of the company that I am dependent upon you. The moment you only disclose it and you don't resign, rather they are going to intimidate you far more than what they were intimidating you earlier. Rather, you are opening the floodgates for intimidation by the managements to the auditors. I think if at all, 15% is not much. Even in the small towns, I personally feel, and what you have done is, you are saying that the professional firms whose gross receipts are not more than 5 lakh are not covered by this. Number one, I personally fail to understand what is this 5 lakh. I can think of that you can say that in the first 5 years of practice, it will not be applicable to you. I can very well feel it. Or you can say that in the first 7 years, it will not be applicable to you if you are being in the practice. But saying that only 5 lakh receipt, 5 lakh receipt means if he has to, on a 5 lakh receipt, generally the expenditure will be about 40%. And if the expenditure is 40% on 5 lakh, 2 lakh goes and 3 lakh remains. It means am I trying to say that a professional will be earning only 25,000 rupees per month and making good his all domestic affairs? I don't think that's feasible. I think we are living in a very different world. Institute must wake up and must create some self-respect for the professional. I think that's very, very important. Saying 5 lakh rupees people will be exempted from 15%. I can well imagine you say for first 7 years of his practice, first 5 years of his practice, it will not be covered. But after that, it is going to cover irrespective of your practice. Because first 5 years, he is definitely going to be dependent upon certain client. Maybe 7 years, whatever years you determine, I have no case on that. But saying that his gross receipts will be 5 lakh rupees, what does it mean? Minimum 40% expense, I presume. If you are into audit profession, your expense will be 60%, if you ask me. Are you trying to say that a chartered accountant makes living on only 25,000 rupees per month? I think we are living in a very different kind of a world. Yeah, please.
Sir, presently, present code limit is 2 lakh rupees under self-regulatory measure, which we have mentioned in our part 2. But now revised to 2 to 5 only.
But don't tell me that. That is where we suffer as a profession. You see, the council cannot live under the same illusion all the time. If you are revising, you must revise to some realistic limit. At least go up to 10 lakh rupees. So that he can earn at least 1,50,000 rupees from one of the companies. You're restricting him to 15% of 5 lakh means what? 75,000 rupees from the entire group companies. I think make it, if you make it 10 lakh, he gains out of it.
Yeah, and second option also good, that first 5 years of practice you can exempt.
Or I personally feel do away with this financial limit. You must say that it will not be applicable to the persons who are in practice for a period of 5 years from the date of his qualifying. It shouldn't happen that he joins a firm, he comes out of it after 5 years and then says, now I'm starting my practice, so it should be applicable to me for 5 years. No, that I don't agree. What I'm trying to say is that if the moment he qualifies, after that for 5 years, it should not be applicable to him. Let him earn 100% from a particular client. I don't mind. I just
Yeah,
don't
this
mind.
is very practical and good. Yeah.
But after 5 years, this should become applicable to him irrespective. And then it should not be reporting to the management. It should be doing away with the assignment. That's my humble request to you, because the moment you report, look at the implications. Firstly, I am going and telling them that I am dependent upon you, boss. 15% of my income is coming from you. More than 15% of the income is coming from you. And if I am going to intimate them, they will say, okay, he's really dependent upon us. If I say I'm earning 30% from you or 40% from you, what do you expect the company to say? And how do you expect them to respect me? I think I should, in that particular case, be asked to either reduce it below 15% or resign from the assignment. I think that's the way I look at that kind of situation. The point which was raised by Zaware Saab was with regard to the taxation. I think the present code of ethics, the new code of ethics, which is going to be implemented effective 1/7/2020, it says very, very clearly, you cannot give an opinion which you are going to audit yourself tomorrow. You cannot even represent a case which has a material financial impact on the financial statements of the company. If there are major disallowances in the company and you are contesting that particular case, if you look at the spirit of this particular code of ethics, it says you should not be doing it. Now, the point which was brought in by Chitale Saab, that institute has represented to the MCA what will be included and what will not be included as a part of the taxation services. I will only like to say one thing: the day is not far. Internationally, I am talking. Forget about India. Internationally, the day is not far off when there will be assurance firms and non-assurance firms. Absolutely, to my mind, I am in no doubt that it is going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than what we expected to happen. Because if you look at the case, what has happened only yesterday in Singapore, where the company has failed, I think it is Hin Leong, which has failed. And what kind of losses have been booked therein? These losses were not shown for years together. Against the oil stocks of 0.141 million barrels, the stocks of 1.28 billion barrels were being shown. And I'm sure that there the non-assurance services were also being rendered. So somewhere or the other, I think, whether it was Enron or it was any other case, I don't want to get into those cases. I personally feel non-assurance services must take a backseat now. So far as the engagements where I'm handling the assurance services. And it might happen that in the cases like Mufassal towns, etc., we can lay down that in Mufassal towns or the people with a turnover of 10 lakh rupees or so, to them it may not be made applicable. But to other people, it will have to be made applicable. I think there is no way that if I conduct the tax audit of the person, I represent him, I also plan for him, I also go and appeal for him. I think this is a bit too much. I don't think that this is going to be sustaining. It is going to sustain over a long period of time. I think, Kemisha, you replied very correctly to Zaware Saab at that particular point of time. ISBA has very clearly said material amounts. If at all you are contesting the cases where the material amounts are involved, irrespective of anything else, you cannot take up the audit engagements in those cases, or you cannot take up those kind of non-assurance engagements in those cases. So I think we should stick to that. I have no hesitation in saying it. And with MCA also, I think our representation should be based upon that only. Our representation can say for in respect of the public interest entities, this is what it is going to be, and in non-public interest entities, what it is going to be. I don't mind having that kind of a segregation, but definitely in the public interest entities, we should reduce the non-assurance services given by the auditors under all circumstances. Valuation services, wherever those valuations are going to be audited by the same auditor, those stand prohibited in any case, without doubt. This is something which is baffling, actually. You say that administrative services will be allowed. And when you talk of administrative services, you say that administrative services would mean which are not managerial functions. If administrative service is not a managerial function, what else is a managerial function? I don't know. After all, that is what the managerial function is. Either you say very clearly that you will be permitted to file returns on their behalf. But if you are going to allow certain other kind of administrative services, I think we are opening a floodgates for the disciplinary cases in the periods to come. What constitutes managerial function, management service, and what constitutes administrative service, I think you will have to define very, very clearly. And there is a very, very thin line of distinction. On one side, you are saying that you will not allow even the recruiting services. Now, when I say recruiting services, you may not permit him. And here, there is one catch, Kemisha, that I want to bring to your knowledge, if you are hearing me. Kemisha, when you take up this case of recruitment, there can be cases for consideration, there can be cases for no consideration. An auditor may be asked by the management to conduct the interview of a particular candidate for the finance section. Now, I am very clear on this, that there can be a conflict of interest. If I am picking up a particular candidate as CFO, probably that CFO is going to be in some, can be, I think, goody-goody to me, or I can be goody-goody to him. So whether it is for consideration or non-consideration, either I don't permit it at all. But when I talk of recruitment services, it means that it should be for consideration. If it is even for no consideration, I think we should not allow somebody as an auditor to interview any of the candidates and then to place it. Unfortunately, today also, I think I can talk about myself. It is not that the clients have not asked me to audit, to be a part of the interview board and appoint some of the CFOs or appoint some of the financial persons, and we have been doing it. All these periods we have been doing it, and my humble request to you will be, please see to it that whether it is for consideration or no consideration, either we debar it totally, that we say that no auditor will engage himself in any of the recruitment processes. Don't say recruitment services. That's the word I'm trying to catch hold of. Because the moment I say recruitment services cannot be rendered, that would mean that where I'm charging something. But conflict of interest can arise even otherwise. Even when I don't charge anything and I recruit a CFO, I recruit a finance manager, I recruit somebody in the finance department, GST department, or any other department, I think there is a conflict of interest to some extent. So please look at this particular part also if you are talking of recruitment services. One good thing about this particular code of ethics is, this code of ethics does not only say what will not be permitted, it also provides you the mitigational aspects. It tells you that even if you violate something, you contravene something, unintentionally, you breach something, out of this code of ethics, you can go back to the management, tell them that unintentionally I have done it. It may be possible that I am auditing a bank. Normally, none of my partners should be holding the credit card of that particular bank. Because if on a given date, he is indebted of more than 10,000 rupees, I think I am attracting a disqualification on that particular part. Now, suppose unintentionally one of my partners uses that credit card for 50,000 rupees, or his wife uses that particular credit card, which is an add-on card for 50,000 rupees, and he gets indebted to it, there is a remedy which is provided here under. Not only with this kind of a breach, with any other unintentional breach like 15%, etc. And suppose you fail to report on a particular day, it says that you please, there can be three ways. Number one is that you remove that particular disqualification first. You can do away with that. Number two is that you can go back to the management, tell them that this is what has happened unintentionally and I have already rectified it. And thirdly, you may walk out of the engagement. Now it's up to you. So mitigational factors have also been given so far as this particular code of ethics is concerned. I think this is one of the best parts of the code of ethics. This particular code of ethics says that you can be a director simpliciter as a director of a company, which would mean that you can only attend the meetings and charge the sitting fee, which means that you cannot charge anything else. But today, and this is one point that I raised earlier also, and I think it is being heard by the chairperson Ethical Standard Board and Mr. Chitale also. Independent directors are entitled, like any other non-executive director, if at all the company is making profits, 1% commission can be given to non-executive directors, which is shared between all the non-executive directors, including the independent directors. Earlier also the provision was the same, but people have been taking the commission. Let me be very clear about it. I think now, since the new code of ethics is coming, we should make it very clear whether that kind of remuneration can be given to the independent director or non-executive director as a whosoever is a chartered accountant or not. I think that's a challenge which I will like the Ethical Standard Board to take up and clarify. If it cannot be done, it cannot be done. But if it can be done, it can be done. But at least a clarification must come in with regard thereto. Whereas you can be a director simpliciter if you are in a profession, but you cannot have a non-professional LLP on which you can be there as a member, or you can be there as an engagement, you can be there as a designated partner, or you can be there as a partner. This has not been permitted, irrespective of even if you say that you are going to be a sleeping partner. This has not been permitted to you. I think this is again something which is inconsistent so far as the company and the firm is concerned, but I think this is a welcome step. If in the LLPs you are permitted as a sleeping partner, I think lot many malpractices can creep in. So I welcome this particular step, but some people may feel that it is a little bit inconsistent when you allow somebody to be the director of the company being a simpliciter, but you are not allowing somebody the other way around in the case of the LLPs. Permitting HUF business with some riders. This is going to be a controversial issue. Let me be very clear about it. And I think people are going to misuse or abuse this particular provision. Whatever anybody may say, that is the way I look at it. You may talk of that it has to be inherited. You could have said that if it is only if it is inherited, the business is inherited, then you can be a part of the HUF business, because then nothing can be done about it. But you cannot say that only if the HUF funds are deployed, then you can be there in the HUF business. I think whatever riders are being put in, I think the most significant should be with regard to that the business is inherited, and then you are a partner in the capacity of as Karta of an HUF, nothing beyond that. No other relief should be granted so far as this particular part is concerned. Of course, the Code of Ethics does not say what I am trying to say. Code of Ethics allows you to do it, and I think there could be some infirmities so far as this particular part is concerned in the periods to come. Advertisement rules have been relaxed to a very large extent. Let me be very clear about it. I think the small, it may not be in the interest of the smaller firms. That's the way I look at it. These have been relaxed. Even the glow signs have been permitted. Even the glow signs have been permitted in this particular code of ethics, which was not permitted earlier. So the firm name, now you can use the firm name when you write any article in any of the magazine or any of the newspapers. But on the other hand, when you are into a teaching profession, a CA cannot advertise as a chartered accountant. So I think the hoardings which I see all over Delhi particularly, and I think this is the case all over, even if you go to certain other places, the same is the case. The chartered accountants who are also holding the certificate of practice and who are also teaching, they are advertising their teaching classes like anything. This particular code of ethics puts an end to that kind of advertisement. But on the other hand, you say that in a film, on the screen, your firm name can be depicted. Earlier, it was happening. It was happening galore. Virtually everyone in Mumbai or some other places was getting his name flashed across the screen in a particular film when that happens. So today we are allowing that. Earlier it was silent. Now we are allowing it. We say that okay, if you are auditing a particular company which is actually getting into the film business, they come out with their film. They can say that our auditors are so and so. If this is not publicity, what else is publicity? To me, I think it defies logic. On one side, we are saying that the teachers cannot be allowed to publicize, which is such a noble profession, if you ask me, except that if people are pleasing the students, that may not be considered to be noble, but otherwise it's a very noble profession to be in teaching also. But somewhere or the other, I can't see the reason why the name should flash on the screen and it should not be considered to be publicity in those cases. Visiting card of the members I've already talked of. Advertisement in newspapers. It is said that if you are celebrating your silver jubilee of the firm, or you are celebrating golden jubilee of the firm, or you are celebrating platinum jubilee of the firm, you can give advertisements into the newspapers. But you cannot exaggerate your attainments, etc. The point I am trying to ponder over is, who will have the money to advertise in the newspapers? Smaller firms or real big firms? So whether it is contrary to the spirit of really building the capacity of the smaller firms or not, I leave it to the judgment of the people who have brought in this kind of a provision. I think we can allow something. And even on the websites, etc., we have allowed the use of the name of the firm, etc. Everything is now permitted so far as the firm name is concerned. If you ask me, I personally, when I go through the ethics, I find that the publicity is one area where people are going to, there used to be a lot many cases on advertisement. Now those number of cases will come down so far as the advertisement is concerned or the publicity is concerned. Even firm has been allowed to sponsor the programs which are organized by the committees or any other body or any other wing of the institute for that matter. So if at all you want to contribute to the program of the institute or to the program of a particular branch, to the program of as per the guidelines of the institute, in that case, of course, you will have to seek the permission of the institute in that case also. But I don't think once you permit, then you permit it. The name of the firm can be written back that it is sponsored by so and so. As such, it is already happening in our foreign chapters. We are, of course, those firms are not regulated by us. We are having sponsorships from all the big four in all our foreign chapters. And it is said that this is our golden sponsor, this is our silver sponsor, this is our bronze sponsor. That's already happening. So I think we are trying to bring in that concept in the institute also, because we are going to allow the sponsorships of the programs of the institute. So whether it is again contrary to the spirit of building the capacity of the smaller firms, I leave it to the ethical standard board. Because who will be able to sponsor? Whether the bigger firms will be sponsoring or the smaller firms will be sponsoring the programs of the institute. I leave it to the wisdom of the council. I leave it to the wisdom of the people of the ethical standard board. I personally feel that such kind of acts will put the smaller firms to a lot of disadvantage. So I like to only say the tendering has been allowed. The tendering was always allowed. Let me be very clear so far as the non-exclusive areas were concerned. The only thing is that in the exclusive areas, we were saying that the tendering is allowed, but if at all, but only where the minimum fee has been fixed by the tender, the tendery. But now it is noticed, and I bring it to the knowledge of the chairperson of the Ethical Standard Board, particularly in Punjab. I have been reported few cases only day before yesterday, where if they have said that the minimum fee that you have to quote is 4 lakhs, people have quoted 2 lakhs also, people have quoted 1,50,000 also, people have quoted much more than the fee which was being fixed as the minimum fee in the tender. I think these kind of actions will have to be taken. Ethical standard must come out very clearly that if at all you quote lower than what has been required minimum to be quoted in the tender itself, and if you are quoting lower than that, the persons who are not quoting lower than that are being put to a disadvantage. What happens is that the person who has actually floated the tender will say that I will like to go to the lowest one, particularly in the government departments, whatever anybody may say. The L1 is the criteria. So I think in the case of tender number 1, somewhere or the other, the institute needs to come up, the ethical standard board needs to come up with one of the things very clearly, that if you are tendering below your direct cost itself, if they say that a chartered accountant will be required to be deputed there, I think, say, even if it's a Mufassil town, in a Mufassil town, your payment to a chartered accountant should not be less than 25 to 30,000 rupees per month, even if you are a firm of the chartered accountants. Even in a Mufassil town, it should not be. Then if you are quoting only 15,000 rupees per month for that particular assignment, I think you need to be proceeded against. In 2010, we passed a resolution that wherever a particular tender is being quoted at a very, very low rate, in that case, the institute will proceed against such. We'll try to obtain the details and we'll like to proceed against that. Nothing has moved in that particular direction despite the council resolution. I think ethical standard board will need to get into those kind of cases without any fail, because these are the kind of people who are spoiling the image of the profession. They are bringing the fees down and they are bringing the quality of the profession down, if you really ask me. Very important and very interesting thing which has been brought in. Of course, that should be the order of the day. No gifts, no inducements. Whether to a person in profession, if you are the auditor of the company, or to the person in service. So what I can say is that if I am the auditor of the company, and this is the question which I am asking the ethical standard board chairperson, if some person comes to me on Diwali and makes me some gift, whether I am an employee or I am in profession, what do I do to that? One good thing about that is that in the code of ethics itself, it is written that the materiality of the amount could be one of the criteria. No, I'm not asking him to bring a gift to my house. He brings in. If I refuse it, then also I'm being told to be discourteous. But I personally feel today, looking at all this, if a client sends me anything except then a sweet dibba or some kind of a dry fruit, I think I should be rejecting any kind of a gift in kind. That's the way I look at it. Whether it is Diwali or Dussehra or New Year, any other thing. Because otherwise I'm going to be held guilty somewhere if it is complained. So whether I'm a person, and if I'm a person in service, I'm a professional in service, in that case also, if any of the persons from whom the company gets the supplies, and he comes and gives you a gift on Diwali or any other occasion, then also you are going to be covered by this particular code of ethics that you cannot accept that. So I think both the members in service as well as the members in practice, both are covered pretty well so far as this particular code of ethics is concerned. I think I will like to stop here, and I will like to answer about 5 to 10 questions, whichever questions come from the members, because that will be very important. I personally feel code of ethics is fine, absolutely no. But yes, another thing. It talks of networking. It provides clarity with regard to the networking, but it brings out one thing, that you can pay a referral fee to the members now. If one member refers you some particular client, you may not be able to pay the referral fee to a non-member, but you can pay a referral fee to a member now, which I don't think is in a good taste. Very frankly, if you ask me, it may not be in a good taste. But the code of ethics permits you to pay the referral fee now. I think Kemisha could answer this, whether I am correct or not, because to my mind, today it is permitted by the new code of ethics to pay the referral fee in all those cases wherever you are part of the networking, etc. Yes, Abhishek, you can take over from me now. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thanks a lot to Zaware Saab, thanks a lot to Chitale Saab, Kemisha, Anilji, and Abhishek ji, and of course the participants across. And if at all there are any questions, I shall like to answer those.
Yes, sir. So there is one question by Amisha, that can we use registered valuer in our card, and can we also approach IP or liquidator as registered valuer?
Registered valuer you can use as per this code of ethics.
Okay. So our question was, can we approach various IPs and liquidator as registered valuer by as like sending email or sending profile,
No,
sumo?
you can send for the empanelment. Empanelments we are sending even for the chartered accountants. Very frankly, these are some of the questions which were very difficult to be answered. Otherwise, you see, there can be empanelment. Empanelment is taking place in banks for the purpose of IBC, for the purpose of liquidators, for the purpose of asset monitoring, for the purposes of various other functions. You can get yourself empaneled. There is no harm. You can meet personally, but probably don't write in your CV something which is exaggerated. Sometimes you see what happens is you write in something which is, you may write that we are a big company having a presence all over the country, whereas you are having only 2 of the branches or 3 of the branches. You can say that we are having branches all over the we have a presence all over the world or all over the Middle East, whereas your only presence is in Dubai. So you can't write that kind of a thing. That's the I can only say that particular care or caution you will have to exercise. My humble request to every member is, whenever you prepare the biodata of the firm or CV of the firm, you may write whatever you want to write about the firm. The names of the clients you cannot give, that's very clear. Names of the clients are not permitted to be given under any circumstances, but you can give the names of the partners, their experience, etc., the experience of the firm, the nature of the work which is being handled by you, but don't make exaggerated claims with regard to the firm's experience. That's all.
Right. Sir, there is one question. I don't know why this question is coming up, but if you answer, that would be better. Whether a CA cannot practice once he is an insolvency professional.
No, I think we have permitted insolvency professional
Yeah.
arrangements. We have permitted people, rather our past presidents are working as the IBC professionals, like anything. Rather, today that has become their main profession, if you ask me, to some of the people. And CA profession has taken a backseat. They are IBC professionals only because they were chartered accountants. Of course, they undertook an examination for that matter. But I think they are successful because they are chartered accountants.
Right. So one more question from Santosh Tase. If one CA is concurrent or internal auditor of a bank, and his client, either consultant or auditor of a client, has obtained loan from the bank, what will be the position under Code of Ethics?
There is a conflict of interest, but I will not ask him to give up the assignment, very frankly. I will not ask him to give up the assignment. He can continue, but when it comes to review of his account, then he should see that whether if it is if that is the main client of the bank, and if the entire income of the bank comes from there, then there is a major conflict of interest. Let me be very clear. He will have to decide upon himself. He can go to the bank and tell them that he is my major client and I am earning most out of it, and you are also earning most out of it. If you want me, if you want, you can shift me to some other branch. No issue on that. But if it is a normal client, he has borrowed something from the bank, which is the business of the bank for that matter, and I am the concurrent auditor, I can only make sure that when I have to go for the stock taking, or when I have to go for the inspection, unit inspection, then I may say that I will not go, someone else will go. Like even in this code of ethics, it has been said that it is possible, it is very much possible that the tax, when it comes to some tax opinion or tax services or some other engagements, certain non-audit partner may be able to do that, provided you come to a conclusion that there is not too much of a conflict of interest and your independence is not being jeopardized.
Okay, very well answered, sir. So there is one question to Kemisha madam, that you were referring to 15% of total receipt or total audit fee. Is the question from Amol Deshmukh.
Total receipt. Total receipt.
Total. Right. So, members, we are also going to circulate the detailed presentation. I have received it now. So, from Pune ICAI, our CP email we would be sending. One more question is coming from Dinesh Gandhi, sir. If a bank sanctions loan to any entity which is statutory auditor and is a director of the bank, then whether there would be a conflict of interest, whether there is a breach of code of ethics.
Yes, in that particular case, if I am the statutory auditor of a company and I am the director of the bank, and the company goes for loan, I have to disclose my interest before the board, and board can even refer to the Reserve Bank of India that this conflict of interest is there, very frankly, and if RBI permits, then the loan can be sanctioned.
Okay. So one more question. Maybe we'll have two more. What if CA accepts statutory audit of a cooperative society in which in which CA member is resident or occupant? Is it would be treated as violation of code?
I can answer this question. You see why it is happening, why this question has come. This must have come from Bombay, etc. Basically, तो ये कहा जा रहा है कि आपको ऑडिटर अपॉइंट नहीं किया जा सकता. If you want to be hyper technical, my answer is no. You should not accept the audit. But I personally feel in societies if the audit is accepted, but this member I will only advise one thing. If I am in South, I will not accept the audit of any temple. If I am in Mumbai, I will not accept the audit of any residential society, very frankly, because major cases in Mumbai are coming from the residential societies. One of the disgruntled members will come up and say, they have charged me 1,000 rupees extra, they have charged me 2,000 rupees extra, 5,000 extra, 10,000 extra. During vacancy period, they have charged me the amount. I am only cautioning him what to do, nothing beyond that. But I personally feel, even if he is a member of the society and if he accepts the audit, I leave it to the ethical standard board to clarify the matter. I personally feel that we should not debar these kind of cases.
Okay. Kemisha and Soni ma'am, the most as like talked about of BNI, Urban Clap, the network platforms. So what we talk of. So can you just share your thoughts behind this?
Abhishek ji, not allowed at all. Only registered network with ICAI allowed, otherwise not allowed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Last
absolutely
question.
clear.
Okay. We'll take the last question. The opinion is generally when we sign unaudited balance sheet. So I would like to take this question purposefully, so it is of wide interest. If we sign unaudited balance sheet project report with specifically writing prepared on as per information given, then also whether we, as a chartered accountant, we would be held guilty, or and
you are running a great risk. Let me tell you. I will give you the examples where we have held the people guilty in the last year itself. People in South particularly, of course this is a phenomena which is prevalent everywhere, but maximum cases where we have held the people guilty are in South on this ground. People have given some project reports or some projections. Now those projections come from where? If for last 3 years my sale had been declining and my sale had declined by 50%, and you say next year it will go up by 100%, that can't happen. You will have to write very clearly what are the management assumptions or presumptions. You will have to test the management assumption and presumption. You cannot say that simply because it was management which presumed or assumed. I also agreed with that. There have been cases where you say that the loan of 10 crores will be taken. Interest rate is 15%. Even 15%, if 10 crore loan is there, what will be the interest? And if you are debiting only 10 lakh as interest, you are only showing 10 lakh as interest in the projection, I think you are bound to be held guilty. The managements want to show a rosy picture for the purpose of loan. I can quote you one of the cases which has come in by the Chief Vigilance Commission. Basically, if you go to their website in 2018 October, they have come out with a study on 100 top frauds in the country, basically in the banks. In one of the cases, they say on 30th of April, you forget the projections, I'm talking of something else. On 30th of April, a balance sheet was duly audited, signed, and given to the bank for the purpose of limits. And the limits were availed. Huge limits were availed. And then on 5th of September, again a revised balance sheet has been filed. A revised report has been filed which shows all kind of losses for the same year by the same auditor. Now, what I am trying to say is, be careful, particularly when you are signing the projections. When you are signing the projections, number one, if the I talk of auto industry today. Auto industry, I know for the next 6 months is not going to touch anything. Nobody is going to buy the luxury cars in the next 6 months. Let's be very clear about it. Where is the capacity now? And how it is going to happen? And I say in this next year, my sale will go up by 100%. Suppose I'm preparing the balance sheet of an auto dealer. I think this will be ridiculous. This is harakari. I can't do this. I don't debar anybody to sign. But whatever you sign, you look at the assumptions, presumptions, and then decide as to what is to be done. If you are having a labor and 1 crore is the salary, next year you say also 1 crore, if you say 90 lakh with the same number of laborers, you can't do it. Next year it should be minimum 10% high. And then you will be saying that the wage bill will be 1 crore 10 lakh and not 1 crore or not 90 lakhs in any case, unless you can prove the other way around that most of the laborers would have had, some of the laborers would have left and the work could have been done with the same labor of the same quantity. I think that is where the question comes in. Very frankly, the cases which have come before us, I think Chitale Saab has been a party to this. He can elaborate on that. We have held the people guilty, finding that all those projections are humbug.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your elaborate session on professional ethics. It was really wonderful. Kemisha, Soni madam, wonderful presentation by you as well, keeping us updated with the latest provision and also from the ethical standards boards. I request now Anil Chikodi sir to please present vote of thanks.
Before vote of thanks, Abhishek ji,
Yes.
if you
Yes.
have many more queries now, so you can compile and send to esb@ici.in. You can
Sure,
send to
madam.
ethics.
अभी queries हैं क्या आपके पास?
हाँ, दिख रही है sir, अभी comments live में.
कितनी queries हैं?
There are a number of queries, sir, that will be.
No, we have covered majority thing. We have covered majority thing. Only the recent query which is there now, CA practice. CA started practice in his own name, and simultaneously a partner in another firm. Can he continue in another firm also? So it is. I don't think so. It is relating to this ethical ethics.
No, there's nothing of ethical in it.
Right, right. So, so yes, Anil Chikodi sir.
Yes.
Madam, we will
Thank you,
definitely
Abhishek.
compile and get back to you.
Yes. Thank you, Abhishek. Honorable CA Amarjit Chopra sir, past president ICAI and member of disciplinary committee. CA Dr. Zaware sir, chairman AOCC. CCM Chandrasekhar Chitale ji. Actually, both of them are required to leave for another meeting. CA Kemisha Soni, chairperson Ethical Standard Board, and Abhishek Dhamne, chairman Pune branch. Chopra sir, we are very delighted to hear you and very honored uh, for enlightening us on various changes in the code of conduct and professional ethics which are applicable from 1st July 2020. All the participants will definitely be benefited with your address to the whole gathering. Chopra sir has informed that companies to whom the India's is not applicable and also PSUs which should be treated as companies which are having public interest, and also he has
I
informed
have
that
not only informed, I have not informed, I have only requested the chairperson
yeah, that is
of
what,
the Ethical
and
Standard
also
Board to get it considered.
correct, also asked the recruitment services which are provided by chartered accountant with or without consideration, which will hamper the independence of the chartered accountants. This both his suggestion will be taken care by Kemisha, and she will take forward to the council for further action. And also he has informed that referral fees which can be paid to the chartered accountant who has referred the work, advertisement in newspaper and sponsorship for the programs by the institutes are allowed, and moreover the accepting the gifts from the auditee is prohibited. Also Zaware sir has also asked to make SWOT analysis for before accepting and issuing any report, and also he has informed us that UDIN is very important, which will help to stop the fake certificates which are issued earlier. And Chitale sir has informed that representation before various before tax authorities is now not included in management services. That council will take further decision on that. Kemisha madam will give the PPTs, the latest PPTs on the professional
Already
ethics.
received.
Hello. Okay, that all the PPT will be shared with all the participants. I thank you all the participants and Chopra sir and Kemisha Soni madam for being part of this session, and also I thank Abhishek, uh, Pune branch, and all the team for being allowing participating in this event. Thank you very much. Over to
Yes,
Abhishek.
Chopra sir, you would like
I
to
have,
say something? Yes.
yeah. I have 2 points which I think will like to highlight before leaving, because those are of common interest to everybody. One is that this particular code of ethics requires you to document your independence. I think that's very important.
Yes.
You have to document how do you feel that you are
Yes.
independent. And
Yes.
peer reviewer is going to see that. Quality review board is going to see that. Let's be very clear. You cannot start an audit without documenting it that you are independent. How do you say that you are independent? I think that's one of the very important features. And secondly, one of the major clauses on which we have been holding the members guilty, or one of the clauses on which the maximum cases used to come is non-communication. I think this code of ethics has explained a lot many things, because we were earlier saying that if you send the letter by the registered post or by hand and you can produce the evidence. Now it says that suppose you have got a letter returned which says, and on that it is marked that the office of the addressee was closed. If you sent a letter of communication and the address is the previous auditor's office is closed, then also it will be treated to be valid communication. Or you can communicate it through the email ID, and if that email ID is the registered email ID with the institute, it will be considered to be a valid service of that. And if he does not respond, it is his funeral for that particular matter. So what one is going to say, he will leave it as own parent. So what one is trying to say is that lot many clarifications, particularly with regard to communication clause and the independence being documented. To me, these are two very, very important features of this code of ethics further. So I thought I shouldn't forget before I really leave. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you, sir. Once again, thank you, Kemisha, madam.
Thank you.
Chikodi, sir. Thank you all the members for logging in. Keep watching. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.